Kings lose another game to the Blazers, 115-106. They're on 9-11 on the season. Lost by 9. It really wasn't even that close. They just hit some three-pointers down the stretch to make it closer. And they started hitting three-pointers down the stretch when they started actually taking three-pointers with confidence because they had nothing to lose. While the rest of the game, everyone was so hesitant to shoot the ball. But right now, this loss, this is just who the Kings are, sadly. They're just a bad team. There's no other way around that because we're 20 games in and there's no more good process, the results will come. There's no more of that. And that good process that we saw earlier in the year is just completely gone. Or I say completely gone. It's not completely gone. For the first, 6-8 minutes of this game, the process was good. I mean, you could even say the whole first quarter, the process was good. But again, there's no results. In this first quarter, they should have been up by double digits midway through it, that first quarter. Instead, they were up 1 point because they just couldn't hit wide open 3-point shots. The Kings offense to start this game out was generating wide open shot after wide open shot. They should have been up so much. But that's been the thing the entire season. Almost every game this season, the Kings play a close first quarter. And usually it feels like they should be up by quite a lot in that first quarter. Usually the starting lineup comes out, they play well, but they're not up because they just don't capitalize on the good process that they have offensively because they just can't hit shots. And obviously the biggest culprit of that is Keegan Murray right now. 1 for 6 from 3. And that 1-3 was just his last chuck at the end of the game. And the way Keegan Murray is playing is the biggest reason, not the only reason, but the biggest reason that this team is just bad right now. The expectations were for him to take a step forward, and instead, it seems like he's taken multiple steps back, so far back that he's worse than his rookie year. And he's been given ample opportunity, both as, kind of the last option offensively, but then also in moments where he's focused more in the offense, and he has been just failing in both. And then in this game, he was also awful defensively. So there's just nothing good coming from Keegan Murray. And I think with Keegan, he's just not a decisive player, especially when he's lacking confidence. But I think he kind of encapsulates the problem with the entire team right now, is that lack of decisiveness. Because once they missed those like 5 kind of wide open shots early, they made a couple. Sabonis knocked down a 3, Keon knocked down a 3. I think Malik came in, he knocked down a 3. I think they started 3 for 8. And those 5 that they missed were very open. And it seemed like those guys that missed the shots, then it became kind of a game of hot potato. Like you take the ball. No, you take the ball. You take the ball. And that just resulted in a whole bunch of turnovers. I mean, some of the turnovers early on, it was just Fox losing the ball. It was Monk just losing the ball off the dribble. And De'Aaron, he was trying to attack Anthony Simons, and he was just losing the ball under no pressure from Simons. This wasn't like he was being hounded by a lengthy defender or anything like that. Like, he just would lose the ball. Same with Malik Monk. And so those sloppy turnovers started it. Sabonis had a bunch of sloppy turnovers as well. But the Kings were still up in the first quarter, and they were up because they did well on the defensive glass. They kept Portland to 1 shot down every time. You had Malik Monk come in, and he turned it over, then he allowed an offensive rebound, and then he turned it over again. But then after that really bad sequence, he turned it around. He was making nice plays. He was hitting threes. He was finding his big men inside. Sabonis was on fire, hitting 2 threes, hitting a mid-ranger, scoring inside. And so despite early misses and turnovers, the Kings still scored 30 points in that first quarter. It should have probably been a lot more than 30, but they did score 30. But then in the middle 2 quarters, the Kings offense just completely disappeared. And in the second quarter, Kevin Herter went down, and from there, we kind of just started throwing guys in. We threw J Mac in there, Colby in there. We were throwing Orlando Robinson and Isaac Jones, and it just all felt like there was no reason to why certain lineups were being put together, and it made it so there was no flow offensively. Because I am definitely okay with playing Jordan McLaughlin, with playing Colby Jones, with playing Doug McDermott or Orlando Robinson, like playing some of these guys deeper in the bench. I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally on board with that. I think we should do that. But not when you just kind of like throw two of them out there for 2 possessions, and then you like throw another one out there and sub one out, and then the next possession, dead ball, you sub another guy in and take another guy out. It's just like I don't know what we were doing. It just, the coaching staff and Mike Brown, they were just like throwing guys in at random, it seemed, and there was no flow at all offensively. Also, the Kings were just missing free throws along with missing open threes. And then in those lineups where they were just kind of throwing guys in, unsurprisingly, also the defensive rebounding got much worse. Like, that's not surprising when you're just kind of throwing guys in there who haven't played together. Also, when you throw out a lineup with Fox and Monk and McLaughlin, like, yeah, that lineup probably gonna kind of struggle to rebound defensively. And then the entire offense in the middle of that second quarter, it was just Malik Monk pick and roll with Sabonis, and Malik Monk was missing shots, so it kind of went nowhere. It just, everything revolved around whether Monk made a shot or didn't make a shot. But the funny thing is, the game didn't even get away during that time. Like, the time with those lineups out there wasn't good, but they did well enough defensively. Like, Colby made a nice play defensively and scored in transition. I liked what I saw from McLaughlin defensively in this game. And so they kind of like held up enough defensively to keep the Kings in the game. So really, despite those, I didn't like those lineups at all. But despite that, they kept us in the game, which is really all you can ask for. So then you can put your star players back in the game, and you should be good from there. But then it was when Fox came back in with Sabonis, and we had most of our main guys in the lineup. That's when everything just completely fell apart. And so that's why for me, it's like, no, I don't think the coaching staff did a good job with these lineups, but I don't put this game on the coaching staff. It's on the players, because the coaching staff was not the one who decided that Sabonis and Fox were going to play completely out of control, and when the Blazers got some momentum, play even more out of control, where there was a moment where during the Blazers run, Fox just kind of dribbles it up with no one from the Kings supporting him. Dribbles into the mid-range, takes a mid-range shot, and gets blocked. So there's so many things wrong with that. One, the Blazers are on a run. So if you speed things up, you better score, because or else that's just contributing to the Blazers' run. Two, taking a shot in transition with no offensive rebounders is a problem. Three, taking a long mid-range shot in transition is almost never a good idea. And four, the mid-range shot was so heavily contested that it got blocked. How do you get blocked from the front? It's not like there was some guy trailing behind that you didn't see. He got blocked from the front on a mid-range shot in transition. Like, that kind of epitomized what the Kings were doing. What the Kings were doing just made no sense. Everything was completely out of whack. 20 turnovers in this game. Fox also pushed it up again and committed an offensive foul, and then I think Domas like threw it away, or he was out of control as well. You also had Keegan, I think it was an offensive rebound that he got, wide open, very close to the basket, in the paint, in the mid-range, no one even close to him. And he just turns around, gives the ball to Sabonis. Sabonis, pretty open, but I'm not necessarily mad at him passing up this shot. It didn't seem like his kind of 3-point shot. So I'm not mad at him passing that up. But then he passes it to Jay Crowder, Crowder contested three-pointer. Like, so we went from a Keegan wide open right next to the basket to Sabonis pretty open from three. It's like, okay, we went from a great shot to maybe a good shot to Crowder a bad shot. So in the span of like 2 seconds, we went from a great shot to a good shot to a bad shot. Like that's what the Kings were doing offensively. It just felt like they were making things more complicated than they have to be. Everyone is just in their heads thinking so hard about how to make this next play offensively when it's just like shoot when you're open, don't shoot when you're not open. That simple thing, if the Kings could do it, would have helped this team a lot in this game. The amount of times that the Kings pass up shots to get worse shots or to turn the ball over is one of the things that made this game so inefficient. Somehow the Kings stayed in it through all of that. Down the stretch, like they got fouled a couple of times on 3-point shots. Crowder made a three-pointer. I think Keon earlier got fouled on a 3-point shot. Crowder got fouled on a 3-point shot. De'Aaron at the start of the second half got fouled on a 3-point shot. So the Blazers were kind of doing everything they could to keep us in it. But the possession battle, it was just too much against the Kings. You look at the percentages from this game. Kings shot 45% and 35.7% from three. The Blazers shot 51%, 29.7% from three. Kings made 15 3-pointers. Like, that seems good. But then you look at the Blazers taking 12 more shots than us. Us having 20 turnovers, them having 11. We did out-rebound them by 3 offensive rebounds. But it was just mainly the turnovers, obviously. And then the start of the third quarter. The third quarter has been a struggle for this team. The past 2 games, it's kind of been the officials that have screwed us over in third quarters. Definitely not the case in this one. You can't blame the officiating on this one, guys. Like, this was all you. And this is another reason why I'm like, how, I didn't like what the coaching staff did with the rotations in this game. But the coaching staff weren't the ones that allowed the Blazers to start the second half with all of the starters in on a 14-5 run, something like that. I think the Kings tried to get Keegan going offensively at the start of the first half, and that just killed the offense because he just kind of dribbled around. He threw one at the rim, even though he had much more time, but he just kind of threw it up there, missed. Then he just dribbled around a bunch on a few possessions, threw some bad passes, threw some grenades. He just lacked decisiveness. That's it with him. Just, he's so lost right now offensively. It hurts to watch so bad. But then this game, he only played 29 minutes because he was also bad defensively. Because not only did he have just kill multiple possessions and turn the ball over once, he also was the main culprit on 2 of the threes that Portland hit to start that second half. And he was just getting driven by. He also gave up an and one. He was a disaster in the first 4 minutes of the second half until they took him out. Fox kind of tried to keep us in it with some offense early in that second half, but I just have no faith in this team to make any positive changes after halftime. Whether they play well in the first half or poorly in the first half, we just know that it's going to go poorly in the second half. And hopefully we can keep it close enough, and then somebody goes off in the fourth quarter to save us. Like, that's the only hope right now. And it was weird play after weird play from the Kings offensively. I already went over quite a few. Another one in the third quarter was the Kings having 2 guys wide open at the rim, Sabonis and Isaac Jones, both who can just dunk the ball. Sabonis gets the ball. What does he do instead of going and dunking the ball? He shovels it over to Isaac Jones, who has to catch it, and then he goes up, and by that time Portland has recovered in transition and they block him. We didn't score on a 2-on-0. How is that possible? And then another play right after that, Isaac Jones comes down with the rebound. He's trying to outlet it Keon Ellis. Keon's pointing for him to pass to the other side of the court, but he passes it to Keon. Keon's not ready. It just goes out of bounds. There was another play where it looked like a foul to me, but I think it was Malik blocked it. There were 3 Kings around the ball. I think it was Malik, falling out of bounds. The ball is just kind of on the ground. Any of the Kings could just let it bounce and then go grab it. And instead, somehow, it gets like batted to DeAndre Ayton right under the rim for a wide open dunk. A 3-on-0 to get the ball. And the ball ended up with a wide open dunk for the Blazers. It was just play after play like that. This was the most just baffling game to watch that the Kings have played all season, because the Kings were like making up ways to turn the ball over that I'd never seen before. And then in the fourth quarter, the offense finally got going a little bit, but then that coincided with the defense completely falling apart. So, yeah, I mean, that was the game. For some reason, we played our starters down to the very end. Don't know what that was about. The game was over. At least Keegan hit a 3, McDermott hit a 3 down the stretch. Like, those would be 2 guys who, we want to start heating up. But, I mean, there's nothing positive to take away from this game. Sabonis got a triple-double. That's cool, I guess. He continues to hit threes. I mean, Sabonis probably had the best game out of anyone. He had 5 turnovers. He had some moments where he's just throwing the ball away, but at least he was the only guy who could like score consistently outside of Malik Monk offensively. Malik knocking down 8 for 15 from 3, like that was cool as well. A lot of those were just at the end where he's just jacking them up. The Kings went 15 for 42 from 3. A lot of those were in garbage time, like a lot. So we didn't really shoot 35.7% from 3 when it mattered. And I guess the only other positive is Isaac Jones still looking like an NBA player. He missed 2 free throws, missed a 3. So those are definitely things that he needs to work on. It's his shot, right? That's what he needs to work on. But the combination between him and Malik Monk, I think, can be very fun as an alley-oop duo. Monk tried to throw him a crazy one this game, and it didn't work out. But you can also see that it's there. But yeah, I mean, it's just hard to take anything positive out of this game, because every time the Kings would do something good, they would follow it up with like inventing a new way to either turn the ball over or let the Blazers score. The amount of like 50-50 balls that then went straight to the Blazers underneath, where the Kings had just like were running up court or something, and then the Blazers would win the 50-50 ball, and it was just a dunk for Ayton. That happened like 3 times, and probably another time for someone that wasn't Ayton underneath. If the Kings had just lost this game because they were missing open threes like they did in the first quarter, then it would be an easier pill to swallow. But it's how many other things they did super poorly. Because when they were missing open threes in the first quarter, they were still doing everything else well enough to have a 5-point lead by the end of the first quarter. But it's just how everything else fell apart after that. And, I know DeRozan's out, but I just don't see how even him coming back, like, yeah, it could help the offense a little bit. But for me right now, like, the offense is the main problem, which is a weird thing to say because this team's defense is obviously not great. But the thing is, we knew this team's defense wasn't going to be great coming into the season. It just, like, we allowed the Trailblazers to score 115 points. We should be winning that game. If you told me coming in, we allowed the Trailblazers to score 115 points, I'd be like, that's fine. We should be able to outscore that. But they didn't. And we've seen this game with DeMar, without DeMar, with Lyles, without Lyles, like it doesn't seem to matter. This team can't consistently string together stops, can't consistently hit the outside shot, and also cannot consistently get to the rim either. There have been flashes of being able to do all those things, but they haven't been able to consistently do it. And the thing is, I really don't know where the Kings go from here, because there is not any obvious solution. There's not any obvious like lineup change you could make. There's not any obvious tweak to the team's offense you could make. it's pretty simple. It's like individuals have to just be better and make better decisions and make shots. Like, to me, that's the problem. And so the only other way to fix that is, if individuals don't start making just better decisions, then it has to come from outside of this team for help. We can go through the individual performances. We can start with Sabonis. He played 41 minutes. I don't know why. He shouldn't have. Just give him a little rest at the end of the game. We weren't winning that. What, because it's an NBA Cup game, point differential matters? Like, yeah, if we lose the game, we're out anyways. So there's no point. But he had 21, 11 assists, 14 rebounds. The 5 turnovers weren't great, but he was very impressive offensively, shooting the ball, finishing at the rim. His partnership with Malik was the main offense for this game. So the guy to least blame, I guess. Fox, 36 minutes, 8 for 18 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3. Had 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 5 turnovers, 5 fouls, 22 points. There were times where he started scoring, especially in the second half, to try to keep us in it, but it was kind of just like too late at that point. He had many of the moments that we've kind of seen throughout this season where he's just not able to control his dribble in the lane, even when he's not under that much pressure. And those have been concerning moments all season, and they continue. And he tried, but he wasn't able to put a stop to the Blazers run, and I just think the way he went about it wasn't very good. The one play where when the Blazers were on a run, he goes to the rim, he picks up an offensive foul. Like, I'm not too mad at that. Like, he's attacking the rim, that's fine. But when he just is pushing the pace with no one with him, taking a mid-range shot, just making kind of these wild plays and trying to put an end or bring the Kings back into the game just individually, he seemed out of control in those moments. It's like, not that it mattered, but in the fourth quarter, he tried to bring the Kings back and he just went out of control offensively in transition and turned the ball over. We weren't going to win anyways. But I just think it's something that we've seen for a while from him, of when he feels like he needs to put a stop to another team's push, or when he gets frustrated, he becomes out of control offensively. When he's at his best is when he's just super in control. And there were times where, he was trying to put Anthony Simons in the post, and there were times it went well, and other times in the fourth quarter where he got to his spots and knocked down shots. But then when because the Kings were down so much, it's like he felt like he had to do more. Keegan, 29 minutes, 1 for 9 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3. 3 points. And those 3 points were in garbage time. 6 rebounds. I mean, he's just been so disappointing. Yeah, I don't know what to say at this point. He just can't hit an outside shot. And there are other things wrong with his offensive game. Lacking decisiveness, going to the rim, not taking mid-range shots, not coming around screens hard. But the main thing is just him not being able to knock down a wide open 3. If he can do that, all those other problems aren't that big of a deal. And once he gets his confidence, those other problems probably go away. But it stems around him just not being able to knock down an open 3. And that's as simple as it is. He had a bad defensive game as well, and that hasn't been a worry all season. So it's not, I don't care too much about that. He had an off game defensively. And it might stem from some of his offensive struggles, just being in his head about that, then leading to one night of struggling defensively. We just need him to come out of this slump so badly. Keon, 24 minutes. He had 6 points, 1 for 3 from 3. Also got fouled on a 3 and knocked down the free throws. I mean, like, he was fine. He is one of the guys who I'm most confident in shooting threes, along with Sabonis. But he's also not the solution to our problems of not being able to be decisive offensively, not being able to, drive into the paint hard with guys outside of Fox and Monk. So, he was fine, but it's like he's not the solution to what this team needs right now from its role players. And, like that is kind of a little unfair to him because like that should be Keegan's responsibility. He should be the one that's providing that offense from other places and driving to the rim and scoring, but it's just not right now. And then you have Jay Crowder getting his second start, 21 minutes, 1 for 4 from 3, 5 for 6 from the free throw line. He scored 10 points. And look, I'm happy with Jay Crowder's game. Was he perfect on either end? No. Did he take some maybe questionable shots? Yeah, but I was fine with it because I wish everyone was kind of shooting with his confidence. Defensively, there were definitely a few mix-ups again, like we saw last game. But we don't need Jay Crowder to be perfect. That's not what we were asking from him. Obviously, if he was perfect, he wouldn't be sitting in free agency at this point of the season. I've liked what he's provided in these 2 games as just more wing depth for the Kings. Not going to be a starter when DeRozan gets back, and that's a good thing. But he should be able to provide solid minutes off the bench, and so I was happy with him. Malik Monk, 36 minutes, 10 for 21 from the field, 8 for 15 from 3. After a very wild start, he had 5 turnovers in this game. A lot of them were like right when he came in. He settled down after that, and then he was the guy creating the most offense for this team. And after the Minnesota game where he went off, I was like, okay, that was great from Monk. It's like, now we need more of that. If he can keep going, this team can be much better if he can do this consistently. Problem is, well, he did it this game, but then it's like, where's everyone else? But 29 points and 9 assists. A very solid game from him. And then you have Isaac Jones getting 20 minutes here. Some of it at the 4 alongside Sabonis. Some of it at the backup 5. He definitely can play some backup 5 situationally. He's a little undersized for that. I think if you do play him at the backup 5, you can't play a small lineup around him. Like you have to play some wings with him. We went with too small of a lineup when he was at the backup 5. If he's the backup 5, you need to make up for that with some length elsewhere, positionally. But look, yeah, I mean, he needs to work on the shot. Hopefully, he can become somewhat of a shooter. I mean, I'm not necessarily discouraged with his shot at this point. I think there's a possibility he could develop it. But then him as a lob threat is fun, and as a rebounder, and just as an athletic guy. McLaughlin, he played 12 minutes. Liked what I saw defensively. Missed his one open 3 because of course he did, because it's the Kings. Had 2 points off of free throws, but I thought he had a solid game, and I do think he can play some more minutes. Like he played 12 in this game. I think he can play a few more minutes and get time, but it has to be in the right lineups. Like he shouldn't be playing alongside Fox and Monk. He needs to be out there when our ball handling is at its worst, so he can contribute a little bit there. And he shouldn't be out there with these super small lineups, in my opinion. But I do think there is a place for him to contribute. And then Kevin Huerter, he played 7 minutes, got injured. Colby played 3 minutes in the first half. I don't really know why he played. When he played, he got put on Shaedon Sharpe, and I was like, that's a bad idea. He immediately got blown by, but Domas made a nice block. I don't think he should guard guys like Shaedon Sharpe. I don't think he has the athleticism at all to match Shaedon Sharpe. But then Shaedon Sharpe went out, and I was like, okay, now it's okay to have him in here because he got a steal, he got a layup in transition, he was going after loose balls, trying to get rebounds, and he played those 3 minutes in the first half, and I thought he was solid, and then he just didn't play in the second half. So what I'm saying is, I just thought it was weird that if he's one of the first guys you go to when Kevin Huerter gets injured, and then you don't go to him at all in the second half, it's not like he played poorly, I didn't think. So it was a little bit weird. A little bit the same with Orlando Robinson, where he had 2 minutes. Had one nice rim protection moment, but it was kind of like, why is he even in? Like Isaac Jones was playing well at the backup 5, so I don't know, what are we doing? I get he gives you a different look, he gives you some different rim protection as a much taller player, but he was just part of those why are we kind of just throwing guys out here lineups? And then I don't think I said Doug McDermott, 8 minutes, 1 for 2 from 3. He was playing down the stretch. He just came in the fourth quarter because we needed shooting to get back in the game. And yeah, I don't know, not much to say about him. Hey, he was a plus 12 in this game. So that shows you how much ground the Kings made up in garbage time. The Kings now come back home to play San Antonio and Houston. Houston, obviously a team at the top of the West. That was a little unexpected. I'm not necessarily like the most surprised, but obviously a little unexpected at this point. But then the Spurs, who have been very hot lately, are above the Kings in the standings. Like, look, the Kings are not playing well, and they're kind of giving me no reason to believe that they are going to turn it around. But that doesn't mean they can't turn it around. And so you at least need to get as many wins as you can and stay as attached as you can until maybe you do figure something out or you make a trade. And so a game against the San Antonio Spurs, who you've already got blown out one time against, like that's the type of team you're going to be battling for play-in positioning with. That last game against San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama was hot, but I hated how the Kings kind of sent everyone at him, and then everyone else on the Spurs was just getting open shots and eating. Hopefully that's not how they play it. I think you have to go 1v1 against Victor Wembanyama and hope he misses, and let him beat you, take everyone else away. But offensively was the real problem in that game. And in the Kings' last few games, they've scored 106 points, barely. Probably shouldn't have scored that many. 115, 109, 103, 88, 108. So they're struggling to break 110. And when they do break 110, it's because Fox and Monk are just making tough shots. That's where we need to see consistency. We can't have entire quarters or multiple quarters where there's just zero offense, because that's what it's been these last few games. There's always at least one quarter where it's like sub 20 points. I don't think we had sub 20 points in this game against the Blazers, but I think we had like 20 points in one. Sabonis' shooting should help a little bit to pull Wemby away from the rim. So that's one advantage the Kings should be able to exploit a little bit. Hopefully Sabonis is knocking down his jump shots. But with Wemby in there, you're going to need to have guys hit from the outside. It doesn't mean that, Wembanyama doesn't just totally take away the paint. But there are going to be times where you drive inside, you can't get a shot off. And so you're going to have to kick it out. And guys are going to have to make open shots. And that is a problem for the Kings. So some things in basketball are simple. For the Kings right now, the simple thing is they just need to make open 3-point shots. Anyways, that is it for this episode of the Roll Report. Shout out, as always, to the members of this channel, No Rain and Joe Mama. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.